Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 29th of January 2021. And the last 24 hours have been absolutely insane, not just in the Ethereum ecosystem, but in the crypto ecosystem as a whole. So let's get right into it. So obviously, yesterday, or the last, 24, 48 hours, there has been a lot of price movements on Dogecoin. Now, Dogecoin everyone knows what Dogecoin is. I don't think I have to explain it. It's been around since 2013. It's basically a meme coin. Everyone likes the Doge meme and everything like that. But it is also one of the cryptos that is available on Robinhood. So of course, once people were done with GME and pumping a bunch of different stocks on there, the trading got disabled, right? So they couldn't actually do anything anymore. So they moved on to crypto. And, this kind of took the internet by storm within the last 24 hours. It was actually pretty insane. People that I had never seen talk about crypto before were talking about it. There were like all these internet celebrities talking about it and stuff like that. And what ended up happening is that it pretty much went I think about 10 times from its bottom. So you can see here, it trends sideways most of its time, right? Sideways to down. It doesn't really do much because really there's no fundamentals to Doge, right? It's a meme coin. It really doesn't do anything. But then, you can see here it kind of bottomed, then wow, it shot right up 10 times basically in a day, which is really, really crazy. It got into the top 10, right? Absolutely insane. And, it's come down a bit now. I think it's come down to about 40%. I was kind of saying to my friends, I'm like, this is crazy. This is going to dump. And unfortunately, a lot of kind of newer investors are going to get wrecked on this, which they probably did if you bought up around here, right? And if you've kind of panic sold at this point. And, as I said, Doge doesn't really have any fundamentals, so there's no reason for anyone to hold it except for speculation, and that's why you see such violent moves down after it. Like, this was a pretty violent move down, right? And, maybe that continues, but, the profits from that, I think, have started to move into other coins now. So you can actually see on ETH here that ETH's going back up right now. It's gone from 1300 to 1416 at time of recording. The all-time high is what, the wick here, 1476, the new all-time high. So maybe we'll break through that soon. I think there's going to be a lot of new people coming into the crypto ecosystem now because of this Dogecoin thing and because of stocks. A lot of new people have gotten kind of exposed to investing in general now, learnt about it, want to get more involved. So yeah, I just don't see a world where we don't kind of see a ton of new people coming into the ecosystem because of this. So yeah, definitely going to be a pretty wild ride, I think. And on top of all of this, and I think a big reason why, ETH's pumping here and Bitcoin was pumping as well, is because Elon Musk put Bitcoin in his Twitter bio. So I think before that, it was, I can't remember what it was. I think maybe he's had Dogecoin in there before, but everyone knew it was a joke, right? So he put, sorry, excuse me. He put Bitcoin in here, and basically everyone's speculating now because he also has a tweet that he put out 3 hours ago saying, in retrospect, it was inevitable. And everyone's thinking that he's talking about Bitcoin, and now people are speculating, is Elon going to announce that Tesla's put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which wouldn't be too far-fetched, I think, we've seen other companies do it lately. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this happens, or Elon announces that he's made a personal investment into Bitcoin of some sort of size. Who knows? It's all speculation right now until he kind of announces it himself, or Tesla announces something. But again, wouldn't be surprised at all. And, I think that it's probably, it makes sense for them to do this. I hope to one day see companies putting ETH on their balance sheet, of course, but they're going to start with BTC first. They're kind of like following all these other companies that are doing it right now. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation around that. And it kind of, I think Bitcoin went from 32,000 to 38,000 within the last few hours. A lot of you watching this were probably asleep when that happened. It was quite funny just to see this spike happen, and I was like, okay, why is that happening? And I went to Twitter and I saw some tweets about this. I'm like, okay, that's kind of a big deal. The richest man in the world puts Bitcoin in his bio and then has a cryptic tweet that kind of links back to it. So speculation is definitely running rampant here. So yeah, I'll keep you all updated, but I'm sure you're going to see this on Twitter anyway. I think things are about to get very, very, very crazy within crypto. They've been crazy for the last few months, but they're about to get much crazier. So I hope you had a had a chance to have a break, because I don't know if anyone's going to be able to have a break going forward from here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see play out there. So Alex from Nansen put out this tweet today. It basically ranks different entities by how much gas they consume. So you can see here that Uniswap's the top consumer, 1inch is second, Wrapped Ether is actually third. That's interesting. Tether, Aave, you know, and then the list goes down. And then down the bottom, we have a new entrant, Optimism. Now, obviously, I've spoken about Optimism a lot on the Refuel before. They're the layer 2 scaling technology that's gone live in a soft mainnet capacity. They have synthetics running on their kind of layer 2 system right now. But just because they're on layer 2 doesn't mean they don't pay gas. So the Optimism system actually settles to Ethereum, and anyone withdrawing assets or withdrawing anything from like layer 2 to layer 1 also pays gas on kind of layer 1 here. So Optimism is already one of the top gas guzzlers here, which I think is pretty cool. It means it's getting a lot of use with synthetics and things like that. So yeah, just really, really awesome to see that where, I mean, I think people are underestimating kind of how kind of fast we're going to get to layer 2 adoption, and how quickly we're going to basically get to a point where most end users are sitting on layer 2 instead of layer 1. And, you know, these layer 2s are all settling to layer 1. We have like a massive ecosystem of them going around. And as I've spoken about it before, Ethereum becomes this amazing economic nexus, and all these things are talking to it and bridging in and bridging out. And we have just a beautiful system working. So yeah, and they're all going to be paying their dues in Ethereum fees to settle on the Ethereum network. And then with EIP 1559, we're going to have the fee burning, which means that there's going to be a kind of a symbiotic relationship there between the apps and the layer 2s and the bridges and everything. So very, very exciting. And I thought it was a cool tweet from Alex here. So Dune Analytics put out this tweet here. Basically, there's now 25 billion US dollar stablecoins issued on Ethereum. Most of that being Tether, of course. USDC is catching up, as you can see here in the chart. There's a few smaller ones, obviously. There's DAI, and then there's Gemini Dollar, Binance USD, and Synthetics USD and stuff like that, SUSD. And also there's 500,000 weekly sending addresses as well. Now, those aren't people, right? They're just Ethereum addresses, so it's not unique people. And I'd wager that most of that stuff is like bot activity or arbitrage activity between different exchanges where, you know, traders or bots are taking one kind of, you know, stablecoins from one area to another to do like an arbitrage trade there. But still, this is economic activity on Ethereum. This is where a lot of the kind of fees are coming from, and where all that kind of like, I guess, fee revenue is coming from, is this sort of activity happening on the network. And I think I've said it before, but stablecoins obviously the best product market fit out of kind of anything right now. You know, even, you know, you could say DeFi has product market fit, but within DeFi, stablecoins are like the leader by far, right? And then I guess you could say decentralized exchanges are the second bit. But basically, I think 25 billion is going to turn into $1 trillion a lot faster than what people think it will. You know, with all the new people coming into the ecosystem, they're going to be minting so much more Tether, so much more USDC. It's just going to all go on chain. DeFi is just going to explode even further, especially with layer 2s. That's going to cause a lot more of an explosion here as well. It's just going to be crazy. Like, I mean, I say it every episode, but it is definitely going to be crazy. So I'm very curious to see if we get to that $1 trillion mark maybe this year, right? We're only at, I mean, we're almost at the end of January, so we've still got 11 months left. And if you say that, you know, if there's like $20 billion, maybe not $20 billion of stablecoins issued a month, but you know, maybe there's like $100 billion of stablecoins issued a month, we could get to $1 trillion. I know that sounds like a lot, but it depends, right? If this bull market really, really heats up and we really get a lot of this big money coming in and a lot of new money coming in from retail investors, it doesn't take much to get to that. So I think, you know, we can see $1 trillion on chain possibly this year, if not probably next year, definitely next year, I would say, if this kind of growth trend continues. Though there is a caveat, if the bull market ends this year, we're probably not going to, you know, see much growth into 2022. We're going to see a lot of things kind of restrict down because we've gone through a bull bear cycle, but still going to be very interesting to kind of keep track of and keep an eye on what the stable coins on Ethereum look like, and you know, how much we get as we progress through this year. So Will from Parsec Finance announced that they have launched Parsec today out of public beta. So I think I've spoken about Parsec on the Refuel once before, but just for a quick refresher for those who haven't seen that episode, You can think of Parsec as basically the Bloomberg terminal of Ethereum. Now, if you don't know what the Bloomberg terminal is, it's basically a piece of software that you have to pay $5,000 a month for in the traditional finance system to access basically a host of different information. So you can access like stock prices, news for different stocks, and analytical tools, all that sort of stuff. So as you can see from the screenshot here, Parsec basically does that for Ethereum. And I don't think it's $5,000 a month. I don't actually know the pricing here of what it is. I think it's much less than that. But it basically gives you similar tools here. I saw that you can like customize this kind of dashboard here where you can add different widgets in. There's a news widget which isn't actually displayed on the screenshot here, but you can see these kind of other widgets around here. Like they've got trending assets, they've got a chart. You know, you have different kind of trades coming in, cryptos by market cap in the bottom right. You can actually do direct trades through this terminal as well. And you can basically, you know, customize it to your liking as well, which I thought was really cool. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go check out Parsec. As I said, I think there might be a free trial with it, and then it's a kind of a paid service. But if you're like a heavy DeFi user and you want to just have like a terminal where you can keep track of everything, I think this is something that would appeal to you. So yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't yet. And that's not a sponsored message or anything. I just I was one of the early testers and I had to play around with it, and I ended up, you know, using it a little bit, and I thought it was really cool. But I'm not a trader or anything like that. I think this definitely appeals to more of the active trader crowd. So yeah, if that's you, definitely go check it out. So continuing on, I'll just refresh this here because it's faded a little bit. Continuing on with, you know, the fact that we saw, you know, a lot of, I guess you could say, censorship or centralized control over the last 24, 48 hours in the traditional finance space. Argent put out this tweet, which I thought was pretty clever, where they said censorship-resistant trading available to anyone, anywhere, only a tap away. And then you can see their nice Argent wallet here. And I actually think Argent is one of the better Ethereum wallets out there because it's just so simple for people to use, and it taps directly into DeFi protocols that are censorship resistant, right? Basically like Uniswap and Curve and kind of Balancer and all this sort of stuff, where you can have freedom with your money, right? You can get away from these centralized institutions and basically, you know, control your, I guess, financial life from your phone. Like, that's pretty awesome. Like, I mean, some people will say, well, you can already do that with, you know, the apps you have on your phone with kind of like banks and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but that's just centralized, you know, stuff. We don't want that. We're here to go bankless, and Argent helps you do that. So yeah, I'm definitely a user of Argent as well. I do most of my stuff on desktop though, so I'm not a heavy mobile wallet user. But I think for those who are, and those who just want like a very simple and streamlined tool, Argent's definitely very good for that, especially for newer people. Like, maybe a lot of you listening to this aren't very new to the ecosystem. You've been around for a while. You know the nooks and crannies, right? But I think the next million people aren't going to be using MetaMask as their main wallet. I think they're going to be using these mobile wallets because they're already used to that. Mobile banking is huge, right? So let's get mobile DeFi just as big. I think that's gonna be really cool. So yeah, I mean, if you haven't checked out Argent yet, I recommend doing so. So an announcement from Spendless today. So I guess, I mean, they announced their product today. So Spendless is basically a place to earn interest on your dollars and donate it to charity without kind of spending anything. So I guess an example here of what this looks like is basically Pool Together, right? Where with Pool Together, you can put your money in, and then the interest from that basically gets paid out in a lottery system. So it's kind of known as a no-loss lottery, where you don't lose the principal. You just you basically give up the interest to go into the running of this lottery, which pays out which pays out to a winner each week. Whereas with Spendless, you basically can direct this interest towards a charity, which I thought was really cool. And it's all automated, right? You just put it into kind of like the Spendless contracts, and then it'll direct the funds to a charity, basically. So I think at the moment they've got a few charities here with planting real trees, offset your air travel, or preserve the digital environment with Internet Archive. I'm sure they're gonna basically add a lot more kind of charities to this as time goes on. I do think that I think you can actually choose which charity you give to as well, which is obviously very important. And they're using Yearn vaults from what I can see here. Yeah, they're using Yearn finance vaults. So yeah, I mean, this is just super cool. I think this kind of stuff is maybe, it might seem boring to us power users, us DeFi power users, but this is the sort of stuff that I think can enable more of that financial empowerment for people, where they might have some funds and they're like, okay, I don't mind giving up the interest on these funds if it's going to a charity, and then they don't lose their principal and they can just like keep it in Spendless, and basically the interest goes towards a charity that they care about, which I think is really, really cool. So yeah, if you haven't checked this out yet, it just got announced the last 24 hours, and I didn't see many people talking about it. So if you haven't checked it out yet, definitely go give it a look. So Linda hopped on the little bandwagon today with Robinhood and GME, which I thought was really cool because she put out a reminder about her beginner's guide to DeFi that she wrote, I think quite a while ago, a few months ago, on Nakamoto.com. So actually, this was written a year ago. Wow. I remember reading this and it does not feel like a year. But anyway, this is like a complete beginner's guide to DeFi. And I haven't read it since a year ago, so maybe it's a little bit outdated at this point because this was before yield farming. This was before any of that sort of stuff. So, but I think it's still very relevant because I think it was just like a high level overview of DeFi, like an introduction basically. So if, maybe someone who is new to crypto, or know someone that's messaged you like, how do I get started with DeFi? Where do I go? Where's the beginner's guide? You can link them this, which will be of course linked in the YouTube description for you to link to them. But there's a few other guides out there. I think, there's Bankless has a beginner's guide. If you just Google Bankless, beginner's guide, or getting started with Bankless, I think it's called. That's a really nice guide there. Because there's not, from what I've seen, there's not too many like completely noob guides, and it's kind of hard to break these things down to like completely, noob friendly guides, because think about how many things you have to explain to someone. Even explaining the concept of stablecoins, say you say to someone, hey, there's a stablecoin on Ethereum and it tracks the value of $1, and then people are like, okay, well, what's Ethereum? And then you explain what Ethereum is, and then they're like, okay, well then how does this thing live on Ethereum? It's like, oh, because it's a token. It's like, what's a token, right? So there's all these kind of things that you need to kind of be aware of at the moment, which kind of, I guess, increases the barrier for entry for some people. But at the same time, these guides are really good for explaining that. Like Linda explained stablecoins here, the composability aspects, I think decentralized lending, stuff like that, in I think, terms that people can understand. So definitely link this to people that are asking you kind of, how do I get started with DeFi? How do I take advantage of this? How do I do stuff here? Because trying to learn on your own is very difficult. Like for me, geez, I spent a lot of time learning in 2017 about Ethereum, and it was just, there was information just scattered everywhere. There was no central repository. It was very hard to find out what was what. So there's a lot more information available to you today. So I think taking advantage of that is a very good use of your time, and linking it to people so that they don't kind of get led astray, because you can actually fall down certain holes, like rabbit holes, that are not great for educating you about kind of things, and they might just give you incorrect information or lead you into like pump and dump schemes and things like that, and sometimes scams. So yeah, I think we all have a responsibility, I think, being in the ecosystem, to educate these newcomers as best we can. So a tweet from Santiago today, which I thought was really interesting, or I think this was yesterday. He basically says, quote, "The total market cap of DeFi is still less than GameStop. One is a struggling Dallas-based video game retailer. The other is core infrastructure of a new global decentralized financial system." End quote. Amazing tweet. A really amazing tweet, right? I think we've gone through this a lot on the Refuel about how the DeFi market cap is just stupidly low. Like, it's so undervalued. It's so insane to me. These things are like, a lot of these DeFi apps are generating cash flows for their token holders, and they're in hyper growth stage still. So they're already generating cash flows, right? For I guess you could call them shareholders, and they're still a startup that's growing extremely quickly. So when you think about that combination, right, and you think about the fact that a lot of these DeFi coins have tiny market caps compared to their fintech counterparts, you think about a lot of them aren't actually in the top 10 yet, right? It's funny because Dogecoin went to the top 10 today, but none of the DeFi tokens have been there yet. So that was just a funny little thing there as well. But in general, this is why I guess myself and a lot of others in the ecosystem are beating this drum that DeFi is incredibly undervalued. You know, it has all this fundamental value tied to it. It's not just a meme coin. It's not just something that's a pump and dump. You know, the fundamental value drives the value of the token itself. Like, I mean, taking Aave as a perfect example here, and I own Aave, so full disclosure. But you know, in DeFi summer, Aave actually dumped down to I think $26, and now it's at $300. It didn't just go up for no reason. Aave is such an amazing money market. It is growing so rapidly. There is so much in the pipeline. They just released V2, right? There is just so much happening. You know, it went on Coinbase, so it's easier for people to buy, right? I'm not saying to go buy Aave, but what I'm saying is that these things, you know, sometimes can pump for no reason, but the fundamental value here and why Aave went over 10 times since it's kind of, I guess, like, since it was $26 is because the value was there. If Aave didn't have fundamental value to it, then it would not have pumped as hard as it did. I think it would have gone up a little bit because this is crypto and everything tends to go up. But the value of the platform is beginning to be tied to the token. And, you know, there's a handful of these projects that I think are achieving escape velocity where we can be pretty confident that they're going to be around in 5 years. Whereas, you know, some of them still have to prove themselves, right? So it is a very risky space to invest in. And, you know, people like to call everything a DeFi blue chip. But really, calling something a DeFi blue chip is just code for, I have a bag of this, it's a blue chip now. The real DeFi blue chips are actually, I think there's only a handful of them, and I'm not gonna go through them all because I don't wanna kind of influence your decisions here. But I definitely think Aave fits into that for sure because they're just like such a great product and it's beloved by everyone. And you know, its price action tells you that because no one wants to sell their Aave. They want to stake it. They don't want to get rid of it because they know how precious of an asset it is. They know it's generating cash flows for them. They know that Aave is growing so quickly. And they know that they can be exposed to that by holding onto their Aave tokens. So yeah, just a little bit of a, I guess, spiel there on DeFi tokens again. I know I'm a broken record on this, but I'm going to keep kind of pumping it home until we have DeFi tokens in the top 10, because until that happens, I am not going to be satisfied. All right, so Justin Drake put out a really cool tweet, I guess like 2 tweets here actually, yesterday, basically saying that Uniswap has basically none of these kind of things. And I won't read out the whole tweet, but he basically says Uniswap's got no KYC, no funding caps, no asset censorship, no frozen funds, no outages, no preferred partners, no backroom deals, no geofencing, no counterparty, no servers, no passwords, you know, all this stuff that centralized finance has. And this is the power of DeFi, right? This is the extreme power of DeFi, is that we can basically remove all of this stuff from the financial system by building these DeFi apps, which is just absolutely incredible. I mean, this is, I had never seen it put like this before. I mean, I've had a list of my own reasons that I've told people before, but Justin really hits it home with this, basically, that, you know, there's all these other things that you never really think about, like circuit breakers, right, on centralized exchanges where they, you know, where I guess what GME did was like a circuit breaker where they cut people off from buying what Robinhood did to GME. They cut people off from buying GME because it was going up too fast and their billionaire buddies, right, their billionaire hedge fund buddies were losing too much money. There's none of that. You know, Hayden Adams can't stop Uniswap. You know, there's no frozen funds, right? There's no outages because Uniswap lives on Ethereum, and the Ethereum network is incredibly resilient, right? There's no planned maintenance because it's just whenever you do an Ethereum network upgrade, even that isn't planned maintenance. It just continues on. And, you know, whenever Uniswap does an upgrade, it upgrades to an entirely new protocol, right? Where the existing one still exists and works. It's just the new one exists as well in that case. You know, no KYC obviously is a huge thing. No funding caps, right? You can trade any size you want as long as the liquidity allows for it. No geofencing. Even if the front end of, you know, Uniswap is banned, you know, even if you're banned from using that front end, there's like 50 other front ends you can use. And even if you're banned from all of them, you can talk directly to the smart contracts on Ethereum as long as you're running an Ethereum full node, or you can tap into a third-party node as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't believe, like, sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, surely DeFi can't be this much better than CeFi. Like, this isn't just a 0 to 1 kind of innovation here. This is like a 0 to 100. It is literally so much better than CeFi that I can't believe it wasn't invented up until this point, really. And I can't believe that so many people are still bearish on this or sleeping on it or don't realize the potential here. It's just absolutely insane to me. The potential here is just I mean, as I've said before, the total addressable market for finance is the entire world, every single human being on the planet, right? And if we can offer every single human being on the planet an experience with finance that is 1,000, 10,000, a million times better than what they've done with CeFi, which I think it is, then how is this not going to win? Like, this is, to me, it's a guarantee. To me, that it's no longer if DeFi is going to be a thing, it's when. That's all it is. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that Ethereum and DeFi are going to win, and we're going to absolutely usurp the traditional system. They'll be fighting, right? They'll fight back against us. They'll try to shut us down, but they can't. They cannot stop Ethereum unless they take over the Ethereum, the whole Ethereum network. They can't stop this. There's nothing they can do. They can target the developers, the humans, whatever. That doesn't matter. Other people will just fork it and continue it on, right? There's nothing they can do, right? Basically simple as that. And that's the most powerful thing, that is the fact that we can build this entirely parallel financial system, leapfrog the existing one eventually, and there's nothing they can do to stop us, right? They will try, believe me, they will try. They will slow us down because they can, through regulations, through kind of like choking the fiat on-ramps. But I think that we should work with them as much as we can, right? Work with the existing system, but basically implant or imprint our kind of way of the world, the way of like how we view these things on them, where we say we're sick of the centralized stuff. We want decentralized everything. We want this neutral, free and fair infrastructure like the internet is, and we don't want any of these centralization vectors anymore. And we'll point to all the examples of why that's a bad thing. You know, not every government's going to be open to this. Most will be closed to it, but we're still going to make our case. We've still got to plead our kind of deal here. We still need to make sure that they understand and educate them. And when I say they and them, I'm talking about governments, right? And Congress people in the US and just politicians in general. We need them to understand. You want them on side. You don't want them offside, because offside they'll fight. They won't be able to stop it, but they'll slow us down a lot. If they cut the fiat on-ramps, that sets us back a massive, massive amount. Because you think about the fact that we can't decentralize the fiat on-ramps at this point in time. We can try, but it's going to take a long time to get anywhere near that. Most people come in through the fiat on-ramps. So if we can't on-ramp people to DeFi through centralized exchanges, then basically a lot of this stuff kind of fails. So yeah, we definitely want them on side. But anyway, I digress. I go on about DeFi a lot just because I'm so pumped about it. But yeah, basically, really great tweet here from Justin. I'll link it in the YouTube description. You can go read the whole thing if you want to. And follow Justin on Twitter. And actually, now that I think about it, he had a podcast with the Bankless guys a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, called Moon Math, where he went through a lot of different cryptography related things and how they relate to Ethereum. It was such a good podcast. I got so bullish. I was so excited listening to it. I was riding my bike and I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, I just got pumped on my bike and I was like, and riding really, really quickly because I was so pumped. The reason why I got pumped is because you never hear about this stuff unless you're in the weeds of Ethereum. And he basically talks about all the different things in Ethereum that's a problem today that we can solve with this advanced cryptography. So highly recommend going and checking out that podcast. All you have to do is go to, I think, the Bankless podcast, search that on Google and you'll find it there. I'm sure a lot of you already listened to it. It's a great, great podcast. But anyway, that's it for today's refuel. I've gone almost 30 minutes here. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter. Join the Discord. And I will catch you all next week. And have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks, everyone.